Let's see where we left it last time. Okay, so we've got the basic trigger selection and shooting and territory and numbers. Okay, that's good. Next thing I'd like to add is a trail on the, we've got trails on the marbles already. Let's add a trail to the bullet. So I'm lazy. The way I like to do this is just go here to the marble prefab. I'm going to copy the trail renderer and bullet prefab. I'm just going to paste it there as new. And then let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's a bit big. It needs to become a bit smaller. So let's change this to 0.1 over there. I can even press enter and then type in the value that we want. We'll move this one down here. Let's give someone some ammo to shoot. Okay, the bullets are now white and they're disappearing. So let's fix that. Go into our bullet script. First of all, we want to make them the same color as the bullet. So we'll go into the bullet startup. Now remember, we are setting up the bullet in the player script. That's over here. So we'll change this. Let's add a trail renderer property to the bullet. I'm just going to copy that from the marble script. And then over here, I will set the color. Trail renderer dot color. And what did we do with the marble script? We did this. I'm just going to copy this thing out. Put it in here. And then do bullet trail renderer color is equal to C. Like that. So that should make the end of it transparent. Okay, let's see if that does the trick. Give him some ammo. Okay, that works. But the trails are disappearing. The reason the trails are disappearing is because the bullet is being destroyed and the trail is part of the bullet. So one way to fix this is to separate it from the bullet. So I'm going to create a child object here, call it trail renderer. And I'm going to move, or not move, I'm going to copy the trail renderer and put it in here. Paste component. Need to remove it from here where it was originally and update the reference because it's now missing. And then I'm going to make a new reference for a container of things that will stay after the bullet is destroyed. So we're going to make a maybe make it a game object instead. It doesn't really matter. Container for things that stay. And then we should probably formalize this a bit better. Let's have a function for when the bullet dies. We should rather call this function when we destroy the bullet from other scripts. And what we'll do in that is the container, we're going to set it to have no parent. What that basically means, if we have a bullet over here, if we're changing it to not have a parent anymore, we're just doing that basically. We're just dragging it out of there. So that's what that will do. And then we need to find where else we are killing the bullets. And that would be in the block script. That's happening over there. So over there we'll rather do bullet.kill. And then this part comes out and goes in here. Destroy game object. So what will happen over here is first that child object is going to be removed from the bullet, and then we're going to destroy the bullet, which means that will remain over there. But we still need to destroy it a bit later on, otherwise it's going to keep taking up memory. So we're going to destroy that, but maybe 1 second later. And then we just need to set the reference. So that one goes over there. Okay, that seems to work. Next, I think we probably want to add some charge shots to it. So at the moment we only have the machine gun bullets, but let's also have a bullet that consumes the whole charge that you've built up. You might have to rework a few things. First thing I want to do is to do this bullet initialization in the bullet script. So that's all of this stuff. We'll instantiate it. That can stay over here. But then all of this needs to go into the bullet script. And all we need from it is the player. So I'll create a new function over here. And I'm going to return type of bullet, just because we might use that later. I like to call it setup, and that's going to take a player. The reason I do this is after we call the setup, we have a reference to it. We don't need to still go find it. And all of this stuff we're going to take out and put in here. That is no longer needed. That is not needed. Then we need to call that. I like to do it from here. So here at the end I'm going to do .getComponent bullet, and then I'm going to call setup on that, feeding it this player reference. Why is this not happy? Maybe I need to remove this. There we go. Keeps the player script a bit clean. So now if we're going to be making charge shots, we also need to give it a size. So let's start by having a new variable for how big it is. Let's call it size. And we'll feed that in as well. S for size. Size equals S. And from here, we just need to give it the size. So every time we shoot a normal bullet, we're making a size 1 bullet. And then I'm going to refactor this part that has been used. If you recall, the reason we did that is so that a bullet can't conquer 2 blocks at the same time. So let's comment that out for now, and then we find where it was used and fix those places. That was here in the block. And bullet.size is greater than 0. Then we will reduce its size by 1. Minus equal 1. And then we should only kill the bullet if its size is 0. Size less than equal to 0, then we're going to kill the bullet. So now we can test this. Let's see what happens if each bullet automatically has 5 charge on it. Let's just change this to 5. So now in theory each bullet will be able to conquer 5 blocks. Let's see if that is the case. Yep. A lot of blocks. That's good. Okay. So now we need a way to create these charge shots. So if we go back to our trigger, last time we used an enum for a trigger type. For now I think we can continue with that. So let's do charged shot. Then we'll add a case for that. Charged shot. And what this is going to do, we need to also reset the number, but then we need to create 1 bullet of that size. So we could just copy this, but I'd prefer to put this in a new function that we can call from other places. So I'll make a new function, create a bullet, and then we'll just give it the size. And what that will do is this. We'll just copy that out, and we'll feed it the size. So over here we're going to do create bullet, size 1. Remember, this is in the auto fire. And then in the trigger, we're just going to call that. So marble.player.create bullet, and we'll give it the current number. So that will create a bullet of size that number. Now the bullets are all still the same size. So let's change this to, let's change the bullet to automatically set its size according to what its size is, or its physical size according to how much charge it has. Let's rename this to charge to keep it simpler to keep track of. So currently we have base size is 0.1. So let's set the size. So transform.scale is equal to vector 3.1 times, and then we'll do 0.1 as the base times, and then let's do maybe a power. I think maybe a square root. So we'll do charge and then square root like that. So if charge is 1, no, other way around, to the power of, no, I'm doing this completely wrong. Let's just do square root of charge. Okay, let's see if that works. Now let's, as a start, let's just make all of them charge shots, and then we can split it again later. So I've gone into the prefab, I've changed the trigger to be a charge shot, so that will be for everyone. So as a test, let's set red's number to 500, and then we'll just, oh, I put it in the wrong place, like that. Okay, and there we go. Red has a very big charge shot there. Okay. And you can see its number going down. Okay. Next, we probably want to keep track of the number visually. So let's create a label. And we'll do a text mesh pro text. Let's see what number 1000 would look like. Center it. Font size smaller. Much smaller. Now we need a reference to it, so we'll go back to here and we'll have a text mesh pro text label. So on update, we're just going to set the label's text to charge and set the reference over there. But if the charge is 1, we don't want to show it, otherwise just visually a bit noisy. So let's put that in here. If charge is more than 1, then do it. Let's go back here and fix this. This should have been multiply. This should be charge shot release. Okay. Yeah, that seems to work. I actually probably want to make them a bit bigger. So let's make a variable for that as well. But we don't get to see if the number was updated. Let's check again. And we'll just do it manually. 500, here we go. Okay, there we go. 500. So what's happening now is all the shots have the same mass, so they're colliding with each other, which is unexpectedly causing the big marble to be pushed by the smaller ones. I also see another little visual glitch over here. The trail is not centered and the numbers are being shown. Well, the wrong number, because I need to go back into the prefab, and by default it should be blank, just like that. So then we said the trail renderer was not in the right position, labels in the right position, that's fine. So now we also should change the mass of the rigid body. So we need a reference to the rigid body. And we'll do that here as well. In fact, all of this should only happen if the charge is more than 1. Okay, then we need to set the reference once again. Put that over there. Then we probably also want the bigger shots to be a bit slower. So let's say that we've got a default speed over here. Where was it? There's our basic speed 10. Let's put that in a variable. And then what we'll do is we'll divide that by the charge. So bigger bullets will shoot a bit slower than small bullets. Should probably make that base speed quite a bit higher. Otherwise they're going to be very slow. Let's add a minimum speed. And I forgot to actually use the speed base. Add that over there, speed minimum. In fact, let's rather use the square root of charge over here. This means that it won't scale as roughly as it did. And then I was also thinking, let's start with some ammo in the chamber, just to conquer some of the map as the game starts. Okay, that's working about as I expect. Now we still need to make the option of having either. So we need to split this into a charge shot and a release shot. Each one should be about half of the size. Let's make our grid snap a bit smaller. So that's our machine gun release and our charge shot release. Next, we probably also want to keep track of how many bullets are being shot. So I'll make another label over here. This will be our ammo label. Need a reference to it. Ammo label. And we need to set it. So we'll just set that over here. We should probably also change the size of the trails for the bullets so that the bigger bullets also have a thick trail. So we'll do that in here. Trail renderer dot start width is equal to this thing over here. So something else I just thought of is the cannons tend to prioritize aiming at the corners. Let me show you what I mean by that. If I give myself a lot of ammunition over here, you'd expect that the spread of the shot would go out in kind of a circle format, but instead you see it's focusing more on the sides towards the enemy players. And the reason for that is if you see the cannon, as it reaches the edges, it kind of slows down. It doesn't come to an abrupt bounce back. That's because of the animation curving that happens by default. And as you can see in this test, Duplo is already eliminated because it's focusing on them. So the way we'll fix that is in the animation sheet. So we'll go to the cannon, and in our animation window, so if you see down here, this curves button, this shows you what's happening. It's kind of curving and then coming to a nice smooth stop. In here, you can right click on that and change that to flat or both tangents linear. And if we go back to the curve, you see it's now flat. So we'll do that to each of these ones, make that linear. If we play this animation, you see it just bounces straight off the side. So as you can see, it's going more towards the middle now. I've also thought of another issue that I had in my very early videos. When a shot is moving very almost parallel with the side and then bounces, it will tend to just stick over there and not bounce back like you'd expect. And that is a physics property that you need to fix. So if you go to, where's this now? Project settings. And I like to dock this window here on the side. And that is under physics 2D. That is the velocity threshold. Yeah, so any collisions with a relative linear velocity below this threshold will be treated as inelastic. So you just set this one to very low, and then you'll always have a nice bounce. So another nice little visual touch I like to add is to randomize the color of the blocks a little bit. So we'll do that here in the block conversion area, which is here, setting the sprite renderer color. So over here, we're just going to add a bit of random color. The way I like to do that is to do a color.lerp from the block color to maybe black, and then we just do it by a random amount, random.value times maybe something like that. So that will slightly darken it up to 5% towards black. Then to counteract that, we just need to make them by default a little bit lighter. So here we set the block color as that. We'll make it a bit more like that. Green, bit higher. Yellow. Yeah, you can kind of see it over there. But let's make it a bit even more. And let's also darken it a bit further the more times the block has been conquered. So let's keep track of that. Number times conquered is equal to 0. So every time it gets conquered, we're going to increase that. And we're going to increase the darkness by number times conquered. Maybe do something like this, maybe 1%. Eventually it will just become black. So let's make a minimum. So we'll do smallest of that and maybe up to 50%. So we should start seeing some darkening along the edges. And indeed that's what we're seeing. Okay, I think that's all for today. As always, thank you for watching. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to see.